welcome to ET Studios, Future Brands of India in association with ET Retail. I'm Himanshi Tiwari. Now, the Indian D2C story is thriving, and as we are coming close to the end of Future Brands of India, we are calling the rising stars of D2C here at the ET Studios. And for this particular episode, we have with us Apeksha Jain, founder the Gourmet Jar. Apeksha, it's a pleasure to have you here on our show.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
All right, Apeksha, it's really interesting story that you have, that from being a French teacher and food blogger to being an accidental entrepreneur that you call yourself. So what is this journey about of being accidental entrepreneur?
Yeah, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because if 15 years back somebody would have told me that I'll be running a business and, running a brand in India, I would have laughed my guts out, When I finished my post-graduation, the one thing I knew is that I do not want to do a 9-to-5 job. And hence I got into French teaching because I was really passionate about French and loved learning languages. And I didn't realize that later I would sign up for a 24/7 job, So this something just kind of happened to me by accident because I've always loved cooking. And it was a passion for cooking that kind of brought me on this journey.
All right, so it's solely cooking that inspired you to start the Gourmet Jar, and Gourmet Jar is really very different when it comes to using artisanal preserves, right? For starting such a company, what actually inspired you apart from cooking, of course?
I mean, it was a love for cooking, but basically I was living in France in 2008-9 and I tried this banana jam when I was traveling to Burgundy, and it was staying at a small bed and breakfast, and it was completely, artisanal, freshly made, something that we had never really eaten in India growing up, So when I moved back to India in 2010, I kind of was craving that banana jam and then tried to recreate it. And since I was a good cook, I thought it cannot be so difficult to make it. And I just Googled a little bit and, made a batch of banana jam, added some rum to it. And that's how our signature product, the banana rum jam, came into being. And once that turned out well, I started experimenting more in the kitchen and started making more flavors. And eventually friends and family started asking for bottles. And that's how the spark, came alive. And I thought, okay, what I'm making is very different. It didn't really exist in the Indian market, 10-12 years back. And I thought, why not try selling these? And I just started a Facebook page in 2012, and that's how the Gourmet Jar journey began.
Yeah, I still remember, reading the whole story behind the banana jam, and I still remember that banana jam word and how the Gourmet Jar came into existence at that point of time. But when you started the Gourmet Jar, you call yourself an accidental entrepreneur, right? You didn't know where to start from at that point in time. So what kind of challenges did you face 10 years back while starting the Gourmet Jar, and how did you actually overcome that?
I think, yeah, if I had known what I was getting into, maybe I wouldn't have had the courage to really take that leap. But I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, and I just kind of dove into it and learned everything pretty much on the job, So there were lots of challenges. I think the first couple of years, the challenge was kind of just convincing Indians that, okay, Indian products can be better than imported, because at that point in time, the word gourmet, premium was associated with international brands, and we didn't really have artisanal Indian brands as such. And people used to compare the price points and think that why should I not buy an imported product versus an Indian one, And then also I think because what we were making was very different and unique. So I think the flavor palettes, it was intriguing, yes, but it took time for people to develop those, the taste for international flavors in a way. And this was like pre, MasterChef and all that. Now, of course, with the advent of MasterChef, people traveling a lot more, they have a lot more exposure and they are keen to experiment and try different products now.
All right. So when you started this company, Apeksha, I have seen the packaging of the Gourmet Jar. How did you come up with that sort of packaging, and do you think that packaging really matters when it comes to, selling such food items or anything for that matter when it comes to the D2C space? So how much packaging, pricing, positioning matters?
No, I think packaging definitely matters, especially when you're selling something online. Then what people are seeing is the visual, look of the product as well, right? So in fact, our packaging changed significantly from when I started. So when I started, it was a homegrown brand. I was doing it from home. We had like a pink label with a polka dot cover, and it was very, very, homely and artisanal at that point. when I started putting my products in retail, that's when I realized that that packaging does not really work for retail, because it should be something neutral, and pink, people used to associate the pink label with women, and the polka dot cover would not really stay on the shelves. So then I had to kind of revamp the packaging, and wanted to do a transparent label, because I wanted people to see the product that is inside. That's one way that we can stand up out from the crowd, and I wanted the flavor to be big and bold. So that was a thought behind the packaging that we currently have. And yeah, it's been a while now. It's been 8-9 years that we've had this packaging, and I think it's really helped us stand out, because people identify our packaging with the brand, and the clean label, the transparent label that they can see inside. And it is something that people find. In fact, people don't believe that it's an Indian brand. Now they know, but initially people never used to think that it's an Indian brand. It used to look very international, and that's why we've also had a lot of gifting. We've been doing a lot of gifting since many years now, and people love to gift our products because of the way it looks and feels.
All right. So is that your USP? The packaging thing?
No, not just the
everything.
packaging. That, of course, packaging is one part of it, but there are, I think our USP is making products that taste like homemade at a a scalable level, at a factory level, and at the same time, of course, maintaining the quality, the consistency, and being completely natural and preservative free, but at the same time having a shelf life of like 12 to 18 months, which helps us put our products in shelves and ship them across the country and even the world, right? So I think that is what our USP is in a way.
All right, tell me about the time when for you the brand was established. I mean, for you, when you thought that now this is it, I have established my brand and now we'll scale from here. What was that time?
I think it was after I raised the seed round of funding, because until then, so again, my seed round of funding kind of happened accidentally. I didn't really know the whole startup world, ecosystem, words like cash burn and projection. I didn't really know any of this. I just got an opportunity to showcase my brand and products at a startup expo in Gurgaon. And then I was like, okay, why not, let's try it out. And then there were some angel investors there from Chandigarh Angels Network who were visiting, and they tried the products and they really liked it and told me, okay, why don't you come and pitch to us? And, until then I hadn't really thought about it. But once that happened, and then we actually got the seed round of funding, that's when I thought, okay, this is something serious, and this is not just a home, business, and it can grow into something big. And I think that's when the ambition kind of kicked in.
All right, so now there's a big team at Gourmet Jar, right? When you started, it was just a one-woman army, right? But now there's a team, there are a lot of tools that kind of help you to understand your customers better, a lot of different data integrations that kind of help you to understand what your customers prefer in a particular area. So what goes behind, anticipating your customer needs, and how do you kind of look at fulfilling them?
I think the world today is very different from what it was like 10, 12 years back. So there's a lot more communication with customers, right? Whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on other channels. Because of social media, the mode of communication has changed, and people can, and with WhatsApp. When I started this business, we couldn't really communicate that well with our customers. But now, because of Instagram and WhatsApp, people reach out to you. They tell you what they want. For example, we launched our pasta sauces in 2020, and then we were doing tomato-based products, and then it was actually customers who kind of reached out to us and said that you're doing tomato-based products, so why don't you make ketchup as well, which is like a healthier ketchup, because ketchup is something which is not very healthy, and especially mothers, they know it's bad for the kids, loaded with sugars and chemicals and preservatives. So we had this kind of customer feedback, especially mothers who wanted to give a healthier ketchup to their children, and that's what the insight that we got from the communication, and we actually ended up launching it eventually. And similarly, Indians love spicy food, so we get a lot of people asking us for habanero sauce or something spicy, or so that's what we take into account and launch new products.
All right, so how much the e-commerce helped you? We are talking about D2C. The Indian D2C market is thriving at this point in time, but a lot of companies are looking at their omni-channel presence, right? Some part is e-commerce, some part is physical. But for you, how much the e-commerce helped, especially post-pandemic?
Right, yeah. In fact, it's funny because we were actually a offline heavy brand before the pandemic hit. And since I started like 10 years back, my first sales were in offline stores versus online. And it's only after COVID happened that we kind of, obviously had to not pivot, I would say exactly, but, take into account the whole D2C and, online space. Now, of course, we are an omni-channel brand. I think now any F&B brand needs to be an omni-channel brand, because you have to just be available where your customer is shopping, whether it's on Blinkit or Swiggy or in offline stores or on your website or Amazon, right? So I think, but for us, e-commerce helped a lot in terms of understanding our customer, because earlier, if you're supplying through offline stores, you don't get a lot of data. So you don't really know who your customer is, what is their buying behavior, what are the patterns. But with e-commerce, the understanding that you get is because you have your customer data, you see their patterns, you can analyze those and understand what they're buying, how frequently they're buying. Like with e-commerce, what happened recently is that we understood that people want bigger packs. There were a lot of people buying sets of 2 or 3 of
This is
our.
through a feedback.
This is through feedback as well, plus the buying pattern that
Buying
we saw on
pattern.
our. So our repeat customers would end up buying 2, 3, 4 jars of the same product in one order, right? So then, and also we got feedback on Instagram as well that people wanted bigger packs. So we actually launched like a pack of 2 and 3 on our website recently, and then now we're also moving towards 1 kg packs for customers as well.
All right, so when it comes to sourcing, I'll circle back to the technology part in D2C and how it kind of helps you to scale your brand and meet the demands of the changing customers. I'll come back to that point, but before that, I would like to know about the sourcing part when it comes to the F&B business. How do you kind of maintain sustainable sourcing, for your business?
So I think sourcing is very, very important. It's key when you are scaling up, because you have to have consistency in your produce, and also a lot of products like produce that we work with are seasonal. So whether it's Malta that we use, or strawberries, or figs, or even tomato. There's a lot of seasonality in fresh produce. So we have to ensure that there's consistency in availability throughout the year. So what we generally do is we identify the source of that produce. So for example, our Malta comes from Uttarakhand, and we buy it in season, and then we kind of prep it and freeze it for the rest of the year when we keep using it as and when we need it. And same way, we have tied up with a lot of farmers or aggregators for our produce like strawberries and figs. So we do a contract for the entire year, and in the season we buy it in bulk, and then we keep using it as and when we need. And at the same time, this helps us maintain our quality and consistency, and we know that we will not run out. So our strawberries come from Mahabaleshwar, our figs and jamun will come from the Nasik region. Tomatoes, again, we've got somebody, a farmer, somebody who works with farmers. They procure our tomatoes for us in season time. So that's how we maintain consistency and quality and ensure that the supply chain is robust.
All right, when it comes to technology, like we were speaking about it earlier, what kind of technology goes into understanding your consumers, and how do you kind of anticipate what your consumer demands? Of course, I've asked that question from you, but I really want to touch upon the technology part at this point in time. So what technology goes into understanding your consumers, and how do you kind of decide that when it is the right time to scale your business or scale your products as per the demands of the changing customers? Now that we have a lot of Gen Z's customers as well, and their demands keep changing by the blink of an eye.
I think in terms of technologies, definitely social media is the key. And at the same time, I think now there are lots of API integrations, and WhatsApp being the biggest one of them, right? WhatsApp has made it much easier to communicate with the customer and understand. And there are lots of, tools available on these integrations where you can understand how your customer is shopping, what are the patterns. And I think that is the biggest, thing when it comes to your own website, understanding behavior and patterns, and then analyzing that data to kind of take decisions basically. And in terms of launching new products, generally whenever we do a new launch, we first do it on our website and on Amazon, just these two portals. And once we see how the demand is, how people are reacting to it, and whether it's picking up, then after that only I kind of push it to retail, not immediately. So they're more like testing grounds in a way, because on Shopify and Amazon, it's easier to kind of tweak things.
All right, so looking ahead, what future plans do you have for the Gourmet Jar?
So I think we want to be like our customers' go-to condiments brand. So whether it comes to breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snacks, I want that we should have products that fit into their needs and their lifestyle, and whatever they require, we should be able to give it to them. Being, obviously giving them the best quality, giving them the best taste, ultimately that's what matters. And I think we definitely want to take this international. So we are doing a little bit of export, but not much. But I think as part of the future plans, definitely once we are, well established in India, I would say, then after that we want to take it international, because I believe that we have products with the potential to actually wow the international market as well.
Yeah, all right. So this future brand of India is really planning to go international at this point in time. But before ending this conversation, Apeksha, I really want to know your message for the entrepreneurs who are now planning to launch their own D2C brands. And I really don't like saying, as we discussed, that women entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs, because we are at the end of the day entrepreneurs. But still, from your point of view, what are those challenges that the next generation needs to keep in mind before launching their D2C, and of course, what kind of lessons and uh, you want to give to them?
I think that there'll be a lot more entrepreneurs in the coming generation because it's now a lifestyle, I would say, and people really want to become entrepreneurs and work for themselves, especially Gen Z. They don't really want to work for others. At the same time, it is very, very hard. It's not easy at all. So you have to have grit really to really survive and persevere. There should be passion. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, then there's no point really getting into, because you'll not be able to take the journey. So apart from that, I would say if you're passionate, if you have the determination, just take the leap, just do it. You'll figure things out on the way. And the biggest tip and lesson that I would give is that know your numbers from the beginning. It's something that I learned very late. I was not really a finance and accounts person, but I have realized that that's the most important thing when it comes to running a business. You have to understand finance and understand your numbers, and spreadsheets. Make spreadsheets your best friend.
All right, understand spreadsheets, make spreadsheets, even you're not an entrepreneur. These are really important points. But thank you, Apeksha, for joining us in this conversation. We had a really fascinating conversation. These 15 minutes were really interesting. Thank you for that. And to our viewers, stay tuned for more such videos only on ET Studios, Future Brands of India, in association with ET Retail.